think he went back because she was probably screaming at him and he didn't know what else to do.
Oh, she's having a meltdown, folks. She's having a meltdown. We're meant to feel so sorry for Ms. Meghan, for Ms. Markle, because, of course, the disaster tourism six stunt, all of the revelations in Vanity Fair, nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with her. Of course not. It's all our fault. So this is the latest reporting, the latest exclusive from Radar Online that are doing some really, really good stuff, saying that Meghan Markle has now gone into hermit mode, describing her as wounded after she was slammed about that repulsive photo op. So let me take you through it. RadarOnline.com can reveal that she has told pals that she and her husband, Prince Harry, don't deserve the backlash for helping out at a Los Angeles soup kitchen. A source close to the couple said, yet in pursuing that goal, she's found herself at the receiving end of harsh treatment. Harry has reassured her of his pride in her actions and advised her to take a step back and not let it get to her. Still, it weighs on them. Rather than retreating from the situation, they opted to journey 2 hours into the heart of the fire zone to volunteer at the World Central Kitchen. There, they prepared meals for evacuees, engaged in conversations, and offered comfort to those affected. This response is exactly what you'd anticipate from someone who carries Princess Diana's legacy. Meghan has now gone into hermit mode over fears of more criticism for simply helping out. But Prince Harry hasn't, by the way. You'll see this week he's in Salinas with more photo opportunities, of course, with all of the firefighters. But I mean, seriously, Meghan, you are completely and utterly delusional. You don't drive 2 hours leaving your children to go to a zone where there are still active fires. Nothing you were doing was helpful. In fact, we've had it confirmed now that you cleared out everyone from that fire zone. So that's the first thing. But in fact, if we just take a look at the macro of this, what's so shocking is that Meghan believes yet again that she is the victim. She is the one at the receiving end of the harsh treatment, even though it's her staff who are in therapy, as Vanity Fair confirmed. But perhaps the most egregious of all of this pushback from Meghan Markle is that she genuinely believes that she is carrying Princess Diana's legacy. And that is just so offensive to anyone who knows anything about Princess Diana, because this woman is no Princess Diana. But joining me to respond to Meghan's PR pushback, Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin. So, Angela, do you feel like poor old Meghan is the victim in all of this and she was just trying to do the right thing and yet again she was mistreated terribly, Angela?
You've asked me a lot about this, and I absolutely say the same thing every time, no. But I can tell you that I was one of the first who realized that she was very two-faced. And this took place 4 days after they'd got engaged. So she'd come over to London and they were going on an engagement to Nottingham. I went along as well. And I thought for half an hour, she was absolutely wonderful. She talked to the people so easily. It was pouring with rain. It was freezing cold. And she sort of said, oh, how kind of you, how nice of you, all that. I thought, my goodness, Harry's a lucky man. And after that, they went inside where all the senior people were there. And it was a talk about AIDS, okay? So
Yes.
they were on a stand and they started walking up. And she, as she has done ever since, pushed Harry out the way because she wanted to go first. Now, they'd only just got engaged. She had no experience of being a royal. And she went up there and she shook hands with them and she tried to be charming. I had my mouth wide open because it was then, and still should be really, a rule that the royal goes first. You don't do that. And she did that. Harry looked a bit odd and she kept trying to hold his hand and he didn't want that. He kept putting it behind his back because he didn't think it was the right thing to do if someone's talking about AIDS and you haven't known them before. I mean, it was so gross. And I thought to myself, oh no, she's a disaster because she's so two-faced that she couldn't even be polite when she knew nothing. The first time she's ever done anything like that. And it had to be her out in front. And that was the beginning of her taking no notice of what you did when you were royal. And that's how it began, as soon as possible. And that's how it's continued. You know, it's all about her. And she has felt that she was going to be absolutely unbelievably wanted. You know, this woman from the world who none of us came anywhere near. I mean, the arrogance is beyond hope. But what she does, if she doesn't like something and if she's criticized, which she can't bear, I think she screams first and then she goes hiding. You know, she doesn't come out. And the next time she comes out, she always comes out with some new thing. But I don't think it will happen this time because it's huge. She's been hugely attacked here now, quite rightly so. I mean, could have been walking over dead bodies, you know, with the burning. But nothing helped her because she had to do that. She was the one. It didn't matter about anything. And she stopped people working because she was there. I think they thought, well, perhaps we have to do this because she is a bit royal. She's not a bit royal. She's Meghan Markle. And she just has to behave in a way that is understood. But she's also got nowhere. This is the thing. She actually starts things thinking they're absolutely wonderful, not listening to any advice, but in the end, they don't work out. And that's because she doesn't listen because she hasn't got the experience. And this is what's happened. So she won't accept it. She'll keep on trying. And Harry is so feeble if you just keep telling her that she's so wonderful and she shouldn't worry about it. Actually, a really good husband would say, look, let's sit down and see what you're doing wrong and try to get over it. And I will help you in every way. But, you know, she's too full of herself, isn't she?
Oh, big time. And Angela, what do you make of this comparison that she continually makes, suggesting that she alone now carries the legacy of Princess Diana? Now, of course, you reported a lot on Princess Diana. You know a lot about that era. Are there really all of these similarities? And do you believe that Meghan carries Princess Diana's legacy?
No, I think she's the very opposite. I mean, Diana had problems, but she had a deep heart and she loved people and she looked after them. And she's got nothing at all. She would hate Meghan, I'm absolutely sure. But what's interesting, if you remember going back to the engagement interview by the BBC, that she said that she felt, you know, she kept saying to Harry something like, you know, your mother's with us, I can feel it, and all that. Harry was going on saying, yes, I know my mother's encouraging me to do this. You know, she's still there for me and she talks to me about all the engagements I'm going to do. And I think she would be jumping up and down if she knew you. You know, you'd be absolutely best friends. And she was saying, yes, we would, yes, we would. And of course, she went to Diana's brother's place where she was being buried, and Meghan lay on the floor and whispered and tried to talk to Diana. Of course, she couldn't. And that was to please Harry. That was to show him that she was special. She put on Diana's perfume the first time they met because obviously she looked that up. And obviously she thought this would say to him, my goodness, you know, I'm even wearing her perfume. Nothing could be more perfect. But Harry actually took it for truth that it was like that. But of course not. She looked it up. She said she didn't do any investigation into him. Come on. She's meticulous about investigation. And that was nothing. So she's just done that because initially it was to keep him doing everything she wanted. And now, I mean, he obviously still loves her if he keeps saying well, you don't worry about it, it's all fine. Actually, he would love her more if he did sit down and say, let's go through these things, but he won't because he's scared.
I mean, he doesn't seem to love her, Angela, when you look at the body language. And what's so interesting is so many of these briefings may well be coming from Team Meghan. But what I found particularly tone deaf is Harry was just out again. Another photo opportunity, Angela. Did you see with the firefighters this time? So in fact, they never listen to criticism. Actually, do you know what people want from Harry and Meghan at the moment in Los Angeles, Angela? They want money. That is what they want. Harry, you've just won your £10 million minimum. That's what they want. They want money. They do not want you constantly disturbing first responders and constantly using the LA wildfires, which, by the way, are still raging, Angela, and are still out of control in lots of areas. This is not a situation which is over. It is still an absolutely critical situation. And that's what they want. But these guys are so tone deaf. And of course, we learned it all, didn't we, from the Vanity Fair article? The staff members become so bullied that they are too afraid to actually deliver any sort of home truths.
Yes, but when I say he loves her, it's not like a normal thing because he goes off now and he looks very sullen when
Oh,
we
yeah.
see them together. But it's a thing that he can't tear himself away. I mean, I think you all know some people where you realize that it's a totally wrong relationship, but you can't get over it. There's something there that actually draws you. In the end, you do, but people then take ages. I know loads of women like that, and men. It takes ages for them to recover from it because they do still miss them, but they know that it's wrong. And I think that's what he's in, this terrible mess, and he doesn't know where he is. I think he went back because she was probably screaming at him and he didn't know what else to do. But he didn't listen, and he should have listened. And that's, appalling, really. It's absolutely appalling because he would know that the royal family don't go somewhere, that they're then a nuisance and people then deal with them rather than actually the absolutely important things that they need to handle.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, that is a very good point, Angela. But I mean, yeah, I just think the fact that perpetually they continue to try and present themselves as victims is totally tone deaf to the narrative change in America. Even the wokerati, even the Hollywood folk, they're done. They are done. Like, people have come around. There's been such a big change going on, Angela. But first, the reason you're watching this show is because you know that these days, and we've been discussing it lots at the moment, it's impossible to trust the mainstream media or the so-called fact checkers who claim to patrol social media. And that's for a very good reason, given the Brexit debate, COVID debacle, and demonization of Donald Trump. But I've got the solution for you. Today's sponsor, Ground News, created by a former NASA engineer to provide you with the only safe way to consume the headlines, is going to solve so many of these issues. Go to ground.news/outspoken to check it out for yourself, by the way. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action. So let's take the recent story. We've discussed lots of Outspoken of Elon Musk's fallout with Nigel Farage over Tommy Robinson, which the left-wing legacy media tried to whip up to destroy all three men, actually. And by looking at Ground News, you can see very clearly that it's collated the 230 sources on this story in one place. But what Ground News instantly shows is how the story is being covered by the media and broken down by whether those media organizations lean to the left or right, illustrated by its biased distribution service, which features on all stories. Then you can scroll down and actually see every article about the topic broken down by the political position or ownership of the publication. So in this case, it shows quite clearly that Fox News gave a fair analysis compared to Mediaite and The Independent, which did not, lambasting the men as morons with big egos without actually looking into why this split happened and how it can be resolved. What's more, Ground News gets to know you personally, providing you with the news stories you're interested in, while also analysing your own biases and coming up with potential blind spots you might not be hearing about because of your media consumption. And look, I know you love the news, that's why you're watching Outspoken, but you don't trust the legacy media. But what Ground News does is give you the tools to understand the truth about what is going on in the world. It is the only way I read the news now, allowing you to see through media bias and manipulative narratives with no more relying on the MSM to define what's really going on for you. So go to ground.news/outspoken to check it out. You can subscribe through my link today for 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use for unlimited access. And I should say, by the way, Ground News is a really great organization. It is subscriber funded, and by supporting my sponsors like Ground News, you also support my work too. And for less than a Netflix subscription, you can get all the world's news in one place and think for yourself. It really has been a game changer for a news junkie like me. So let me just repeat the address. It is linked in the show notes below, or you can click on the QR code if you're watching on screen. But the address, ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show.
I think there's a huge change, and I think maybe that's why she's hiding away, because she doesn't know what on earth to do. I mean, she's not going to do that cookery thing, and I think that, you know, the next thing she was going to do was about the jewels and the royal jewels, and I think people will hit the roof if she starts doing that. So that's not going to be a good idea, I'm sure. And they're lost. They're completely and utterly lost. And if they're going to be thrown out of America, then that's going to be even worse, isn't it?
Indeed.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone who's not at all lost this week, Angela, is Prince William, who had another very confident appearance. I mean, he really just has come into his own, and he's playing football, and he's very beloved, and he's looking very good and quite trendy. But you've got news, Angela, as to his new movements, which are quite a bit of a political one for him.
Yes, well, he's going to lead the nation in commemorating the Holocaust Memorial Day. The King is going to Auschwitz, and he's delivering a service in London's Guildhall. So it'll be attended by survivors and guests from around the world. And both he and Catherine are very keen to do this. Catherine was there last year, and I don't think she might come, but I don't think she will. And it's marvelous that he would do that and say how terrible it's all been, and talk about anti-Semitism in a way that is comforting. And Queen Camilla's done the same thing. Yesterday at lunchtime, she talked to 700 people about the Anne Frank Trust. She's the first royal patron of that. And Anne Frank, for anybody who doesn't know, she wrote a book about her life. She was 13 and she hid away, and she was away for a very long time in a room. And then the Germans found her and took her off and killed her. But it's an amazing dictionary, an amazing story of her life. And so Camilla's doing that. And what she said was that we must never forget the lessons of the Holocaust. And we need to have a renewed commitment because of the atrocities. And there she was saying that. And I find it's incredibly warm and comforting, because it is, I think it is very hard if you're Jewish to cope with all the nastiness when people don't know you and have no record of how you behave or what you do. And I think that for the royals to take this in their hands and comfort Jewish people, I think is very helpful and kind.
Yeah, no, it is. It absolutely is. And we know that Prince William, one of his big passions is about trying to, achieve peace in the Middle East. And obviously he is limited in terms of what he can do on that front, but it certainly is a passion. We also got some quite nice insight from this Prince William visit. He was talking about Louis, and he's just such a hands-on dad, isn't he? And when someone gave him a smile challenge. He said, "This one will be a good one for Louis. He needs a good challenge." That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. And then when one of the students asked him, when the prince asked the students whether they had been able to remember what they learnt at school that day, and they said, "Oh no, they couldn't." And William said, "I ask my children this every day, and they always say absolutely nothing at all." So it's just nice. We've seen William
Yeah.
be much more comfortable with providing a bit of an insight, Angela, into his family life.
Yes, I think it's wonderful. I think that it's due very much to his wife and his in-laws that he hadn't got any experience of a normal family, and he's taken to it hugely. And I think that now that Catherine is so much better, he feels such a lucky man that he's got her and a family, and the children are delightful. You can tell that, they're incredibly intelligent in behaviour, and I think that he sort of feels glorious about it, and he doesn't mind now chatting away and making jokes about them all, and it's showing them off. And I think it's absolutely lovely. He's softened up, and there you see the difference between the two brothers. One is trying to move forward, trying to enjoy what he has, trying to love what he's got, where Harry is still hanging back all the time to his childhood. Of course, it was horrendous to lose a mother, but at some point you need to move forward and try to find the good. It's no point sticking in the bad and grumbling and not allowing yourself to move forward.
Very good point. And Angela, really nice story this week. Lady Louise, one of
Yes.
the Queen's, or the late Queen Elizabeth II's favourites, let's be honest about
Yes.
it, following in her footsteps, and could be the first female royal in the army since 1945. What do you know?
Well, yes, she's doing exercises to try and get in for an army officer's position. It's not all easy, and it's jolly hard. There was a photograph of her. This is a lovely one. There's a photograph of her with the dirtiest face you've ever seen, which is obviously meant that she's been crawling along in the mud. But she really wants to do that, and one of the reasons is because she was so close to Prince Philip and to the Queen. And I think that she's a terrific girl, and she's unusual girl, and she's just enjoying herself to want to do that. And after she finishes university, she'll be able to get in if she can. I mean, she's obviously worked very hard for that, and it would be a wonderful way of looking back on the royal family a while ago. But at the same time, she's got a boyfriend for a couple of years now. His name is Felix da Silva Clamp. And he came to her mother's birthday party just a couple of days ago, her 60th birthday party. And she's very open about him. I mean, she puts her head on his shoulder and she looks up at him very nicely. They're not formal about it. It's a very touching relationship. We haven't seen her with any boyfriends before, so this is a special one. And I think that the family like him, otherwise they would have made some excuse that he couldn't come. And I think the Queen would be delighted if she married somebody who didn't mind that she was in the army. I think that would be very nice for her. She's a very nice girl, actually. She used to go to church a lot with the Queen, who enjoyed that. And when the Queen was a bit unhappy, there we are, that's a lovely picture. And she would go and visit her because they lived quite close. So she was always there. She was a young granddaughter who actually would really put herself out for the Queen, who she had huge admiration of.
No, it's really, really lovely, actually, Angela, and especially the fact that the late Queen was obviously someone who served in the ATS
Yes, yes.
at the end of World War II, as did my grandmother. So
Ah,
very, very
really?
lovely. Yeah, very,
Oh,
very
did they
lovely
know each
family.
other?
No, sadly not. Sadly not, but they
Okay.
were that same era. Wonderful, wonderful young women. raised in the war.
Really ready to go, you know.
Totally, who are ready to go. And Lady Louise definitely has a lot of that in her, certainly. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.